जय गोपीजनवल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना यशोदानंदन व्रज जनरंजना यमुनातीरावनचारी यमुनातीरावनचारी जय राधा माधवा कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव जय राधा माधव राधा माधव जय राधा माधव प्रभुपाद 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 जय प्रभुपाद शिला प्रभुपाद की जय समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्भागवतम की जय समवेत भक्तवृंद की जय नित्य गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि 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 बोल। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितां येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। तप्तकाञ्चन गौरांगी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषाभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। नमो ब्रह्मण्यदेवाय गोब्राह्मणहिताय च जगद्हिताय कृष्णाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमा श्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्ठिकी। Welcome everyone. Today Srimad Bhagavatam class we are reading from the 7th canto, chapter 4, entitled Hiranyakashipu terrorizes the universe. Text number 42. Please repeat after me. Sa uttama shloka padaravindayor Sa uttama shloka padaravindayor Nishevaya kinchana sangalabdhaya Nishevaya kinchana sangalabdhaya Tanvan param nivritam atmano muhur Tanvan param nivritam atmano muhur Dushangadinasya manah shamam vyadahat Dusangadinasya manah shamam vyadhat Sa uttama shloka padaravindayor Nishevaya kina sangalabdhaya Tanavan param nivritam atmano muhur Dusangadinasya manah shamam vyadhat. Chant. Anybody? No? Sa He Prahlad Maharaj Uttama Shloka Padaravindayoho to the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is worshipped by transcendental prayers. Nishevaya, by constant service. Akinchana, of devotees who have nothing to do with the material world. Sangha, in the association. Labdhaya, obtained. Tanvan, expanding. Param, highest. Nivritam, bliss. Atmanaha, of the spirit soul. Muhuhu, constantly. Dusangadinasya, of a person poor in spiritual understanding. Due to bad association. Manaha, the mind. Shamam, peaceful. Vyadhat, made. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Because of his association with perfect unalloyed devotees who had nothing to do with anything material, Prahlad Maharaj constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. In other words, Prahlad Maharaj bestowed upon them transcendental bliss. Purport. Apparently, Prahlad Maharaj was placed in circumstances in which he was always tortured by his father. In such material conditions, one cannot have an undisturbed mind. But since bhakti is unconditional, ahutiki apratihata, Prahlad Maharaj was never disturbed by the chastisements of Hiranyakashipu. On the contrary, the bodily symptoms of his ecstatic love for the Supreme Personality of Godhead turned the mind of his friends who had also been born in atheistic families. Instead of being disturbed by the torments of his father, Prahlad influenced these friends and cleansed their minds. Devotees never contaminated by material conditions, but persons subjected to material conditions can become spiritually advanced and blissful upon seeing the behavior of a pure devotee. Mukam karoti vachalang pangum langhayate girim yat kripatamaham vande Shri Gurun Dinatarinam. Because of his association with perfect unalloyed devotees who had nothing to do with anything material, Prahlad Maharaj constantly engaged in the service of the Lord's lotus feet. By seeing his bodily features when he was in perfect ecstasy, persons very poor in spiritual understanding became purified. In other words, Prahlad Maharaj bestowed upon them transcendental bliss. So in this verse, it says, Prahlad, because of his association with perfect unalloyed devotees, who did Prahlad associate with? Very good. That's the answer to the question. Because otherwise, he was associating or was in a Gurukul, And there were so many demoniac children from demoniac family. So he could not have any good association. Similarly, one finds in the Ramayana, when Hanuman enters Lanka in the search for Mother Sita, then he sees all these buildings of the inhabitants of Lanka. But then he also sees a building where there is the insignia of a shankha, a conch, and a chakra, and a discus. And there is a tulsi in front of that building. So he realizes this must be a Vaishnava. What is a Vaishnava doing in a city where people eat all kinds of flesh and meat and nobody worships Vishnu? So he descends and wants to see who that person is in Lanka. And then what happens is, at night, Vibhishan was just in the morning turning his body in the bed, and he said, Ram, 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 Ram. It was like that in the morning. So Hanuman heard Ram, this must be some Ram devotee. So he changed his form into a Brahman, and he went to that door, and Vibhishan just came out, and he said, Ram, 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 Ram. It's another way of greeting. Like we say Hare Krishna, you can also say Ram, Ram. Say, my dear Brahman, who are you? And so early in the morning, what are you doing here? And are you maybe a servant of Vishnu? Or are you some confidential personality? Or maybe Ram himself? Why did Vibhishan ask this? Because he was benedicted by Brahma that one day for sure he would meet his beloved Ramachandra. So he thought maybe this is that morning that I'll meet him. So when Hanuman heard that he was asked whether he was Ramachandra, he said, Hari, Hari, Hari. I am not Ram himself. A devotee never likes to be the Supreme Lord. I'm just a servant of Ramachandra. And Hanuman asked Vibhishan, I'm seeing that you live here among all these Rakshasas. Do they allow you to do Hari Bhakti in this Lanka? Whether it's buffaloes, they eat buffaloes, they eat cows and bulls and humans and anything and Rakshasas have a very good appetite for flesh. How do you do? What do you eat? Is there any vegetarian things here? Vibhishan, he started smiling at Hanuman and said that, you know how I live here? Just like the tongue lives among the teeth. Huh? A tongue lives amongst the teeth. The teeth are very hard. And the tongue is very soft. And the saints make a joke. One time, the tongue and the teeth, they had a quarrel. Said, because you, tongue, you are safe. If I decide to put both teeth in between, you're gone. And the tongue said, why do you think like that? Why don't you consider that because of me, you are safe? If I start to blaspheme somebody without reason, you're out of the mouth. So he says like that. Because people attack, I'll break your teeth if you don't stop speaking like this, So it was a joke. He said, yeah, I've lived like that, like a tongue is living among teeth. He said, your living is very excellent. He said, excellent, what do you mean? All the time these obstacles. He said, no, I'm seeing that you're able to live among so much disturbances, so it means you're a very fixed up devotee. And then he revealed that I'm actually a messenger of Ramachandra. I came to find where Mother Sita has been hidden. And then Vibhishan actually told Hanuman that Mother Sita is in the Ashoka garden. Now, Ashoka tree is a very funny tree. It's a very lengthy tree, very long, like a how do you say Denabom? Denabom? How do you say that? These trees you have on the mountains, if you go to Golokadham, you find them very, very tall, and they don't have really leaves like needles they have. How do you call them? Pine trees, yes, pine trees. It looks like that, very tall, but then the leaves are going down. Very funny, go down, and the elongated leaves. These are Ashoka leaves, and a garden full of them. So you can imagine, very high trees, so they catch a lot of air. And Mother Sita is sitting there under a tree, crying in separation of Ramachandra. And then Hanuman went there. So, Also, Vibhishan didn't have any chance for good association, but he was maintaining his Hari Bhakti. Similarly, Prahlad also here. So the question can arise: how did Prahlad become such a great devotee? It says, "Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastre Kaye, Lava Matra Sadhu Sange, Sarva Siddhi Haye." This is from Chaitanya Charitamrita, saying that the verdict of all revealed scriptures is that even by a moment's association with a pure devotee, one can attain all success. It says lava matra. Lava is 1/11th of a second. 1/11th of a second. If you associate 1/11th with the Mahabhagavat, 11th of a second, you can attain all perfection. So then the point comes in, how did Prahlad become such a great devotee? So the history is that Hiranyakashipu went to Mandarachal, Mandara mountain, to execute austerities and in order to defeat Vishnu. He thought, I have to do tapasya, then I can defeat this Vishnu who has killed my brother Hiranyaksha. And during that time, all the demons were without their leader. And they didn't need a leader, but the devatas saw, oh, now don't have any leader, let us attack. And they defeated the demons who fled in all directions. And the same devatas, they captured the wife of Hiranyakashipu. Her name was Kayadu. And she was pregnant. And she was crying like a kurari bird because she was captured by the enemies. So the idea was that the devatas were thinking that if Hiranyakashipu is such a big demon, in her womb must be another big demon. We'll wait till he comes out and then we'll kill him. See? What own profit, what desire for profit can lead to, you see? The devatas, Indra is very attached to his position and he's even willing to kill a newborn child. What kind of heroism is in there? You see? This is the problem with having a big position, name, fame, attractive body, putting everything under your command, that you want to kill a newborn child. Of course, the idea is if it's a demon, you should do that. Just like in the Mahabharata, when the 100 brothers, the Kauravas, were born. You know how they were born in the Mahabharata? Very funny, it says there that both Kunti and Gandhari were awaiting to give children. Now, Kunti could not have any children of her actual husband Pandu, but she had the benediction of Durvasa Rishi when she served as a young girl. She got a benediction, a mantra by which she could call for any devata to appear and get benedictions from that. So with the permission of Pandu Maharaj in the forest, she evoked Yamaraj, Dharmaraj, and she got her first son. So at that time, Gandhari was pregnant and she was hoping to give birth to a child first, because in royal families, the eldest son inherits the throne, right? So she was very eager to get the first child. But when the news came that Kunti had her first child, she was, oh, I missed the opportunity. And she beat her womb, come out, children. Because of the beating, a lump of flesh came out of her womb in the shape of it's a bitter gourd, Karela? You know what it is? When you cut it open, this whole battery of seeds. Yeah, like that. You can explain. Because I don't know how to explain it if they don't know it's bitter gourd, Karela in the Bengali. It's bitter, but tasty. You can fry it. Yeah. So, within a lump of flesh, there were a battery of embryos, 100 of them. So when that happened, Vyasadeva saw, oh, this is not a good sign. So immediately he appeared on the scene and told, my dear child, what have you done? And he took that piece of flesh and cut it in 100 pieces with each embryo. And then he told them to bring 100 clay pots with ghee. And in each clay pot, he put a piece of flesh. And they grew into embryos. This is happening more than 5,000 years ago. And we are so proud of, I call that test tube babies, Vyasa was already doing it with clay pots and ghee in Dwapara Yuga, right? So they were kept in a cool place. Nobody could go there. It was being guarded. And then these embryos developed into children. And then the first child, Duryodhan, he started to cry. You know how it sounded? Ee-ah, 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 like a donkey, And it was a very fearful omen. If a child cries like this, he must be a demon. So when Vidur heard this, he told Gandhari, better you kill your first child, because I can see by the omens, he'll be the cause of the destruction of the entire Kaurava family. But there is something like motherly affection also. No, we can't do this, we can't do this. And it was not done. Duryodhan was not killed. The Devatas also are thinking here, better kill this demoniac child, because otherwise there will be more trouble in the universe. So get it from the root and throw it out. And this was actually the reason later Gandhari lamented, if I would have listened to Duryodhan, then today Draupadi would not have been disrobed and insulted like this. And due to that, the entire Kaurava dynasty and all their pride would have been turned into mud and ashes because of this Duryodhan's behavior and Dushasan's behavior. So sometimes it is better to, yes, kill the demon child when he's born, right? What do you consider? You can comment after the lecture whether you agree with Vidur or you agree with Gandhari, you agree with Indra, or you agree with or disagree with Indra, right? But what happened? Narada, who has perfect vision, he saw in the future that this child in the womb of Kayadu, he's not a demon. He's a perfect worshipper of Sureshwara, Vishnu, the Lord of the Devatas. So he stopped Indra. He said that you'll never be able to kill this child. You know why? He's a worshipper of Vishnu. He will not be a demon. Immediately, Indra said, release her. By the words of Narada, they released Kayadu and they even circumambulated her womb. The Devatas wanted to kill, now wanted to circumambulate and respect. Right? And they paid obeisances to the child and they left to Swarga. So Kayadu was still crying and wondering, what is all this? And said that I need some shelter because the Devatas have broken down our palace. They've broken down everything. My husband is not at home. I need some shelter. And Narad said, okay, come to my ashram. So Narad brought her to his ashram. And there he started instructing her for many years. Now, Hiranyakashipu's tapasya, it is described in the third chapters, 15, 16 verses, in the purport that it lasted for 100 years of the Devatas. So now, a Devata year is like, no, a day of the Devatas is 6 months of our time, So calculating this, it turns out that Hiranyakashipu's austerities lasted for 18,000 years. And then he came back. And Prahlad was only 5 years old. How is it possible? Anybody has any idea? When Hiranyakashipu came back, Prahlad was only 5. What's the reason that Prahlad was just a little boy? He should have been 18,000 years old also, right? Because Kayadu was highly pregnant when she entered the Gurukul in the protection of Narada. Somebody asked me this question. And I said, great question. And I made up some answer like you tried. But then later I saw the actual reason. Yeah, could be. But it's mentioned in Bhagavatam very clearly in verse 7.14 that Kayadu was greatly concerned with the safety of her child, like a mother is. And he asked Narada, please let me give birth after my husband comes back. So Prahlad remained in the womb for 18,000 years. Right? 18,000 years he remained in the womb. And Narada was instructing Kayadu in devotional service. And he saw Kayadu like women are, men sometimes also. And as he was sleeping, Narada heard that somebody is still replying to his teachings. He was saying, the greatest personality of Godhead is Vishnu. And he heard the voice, yes, yes. And he realized somebody from the womb, from the stomach is speaking. And he was very happy that this child is hearing my instructions. And he went on and on. Even if the mother was asleep, the child was hearing and hearing. That was Prahlad. He was even learning in the womb. for 18,000 years. 18,000 years. Amazing. So, it is a great thing to know that when a woman is pregnant, that she can already start training her child by creating good impressions, a good environment. It even mentions in a biography of Mirabai, the great poet saint of Rajasthan, who was completely fallen in love with Krishna and is a staunch worshipper of the powerful lifter of the Govardhan hill, as Prabhupada says, Girdhar Gopal. Girdhar means, in Mewari language, one who lifts the mountain. Girdhar Gopal, and holds it. That Gopal was her main, most beloved form. And in a biography, we read that her grandfather, like grandfathers are to grandchildren, very affectionate. And Rao Duda was the grandfather of Meera. And whenever there would be satsanga, he would invite saints to come in the palace. Then he would carry little Meera in his lap to the satsanga, make her sit and listen to the satsanga. And even if she would fall asleep, it was not the problem. In this way, they imbibe samskaras. It's good for children, even in childhood or even in the womb, they can get good impressions and become devotees later. See, that is the case here. So she was very concerned about the life of her child, and she asked Nara the benediction, let my child take birth after the father comes back. So, the success attained by associating with the devotee Mahabhagat surpasses all perfections attained by karma and jnana. Therefore, it says that it is most rare. Karma, good activities, piety, donations, opening schools, hospitals, orphanages, even opening temples, is all very fine. We don't criticize all that. But it will lead you to Swarga only, to heavenly planets, if there is no soul development, no consciousness development. Right? And by becoming a strict renunciate and controlling the mind with pure knowledge of the Atman, one can attain Brahman. Even that. We also don't criticize that. That's also no process. But it doesn't mean you can attain bhakti, the lotus feet of Krishna, by that. For that, you need bhakti. And bhakti you get by associating with a Mahabhagat. And what is bhakti? Attaining your original spiritual form and entering Golok Dham to associate with Krishna in that spiritual form. That's only possible with bhakti. Like that. So, how are devotees put in a hierarchy of higher and lower? What is the criterion for that? How do we measure somebody's position among the devotee association? Shraddhavana jana hai bhakti adhikari, uttama madhyama kanistha shraddha anusari. A faithful devotee is a truly eligible candidate for the loving service of the Lord. According to one's faith, one is classified as a topmost devotee, an intermediate devotee, or an inferior devotee. And then it described here. So the Kanishta means a beginner, Madhya means in the middle level, and Uttama means on the topmost level. How do you know if somebody is a beginner, intermediate, and highest? So this is one criterion. One who is expert in logic and argument and expert at logic and argument in the revealed scriptures, and who has firm faith in Krishna, he is classified as a topmost devotee and he can deliver the whole world. So the faith is extremely strong and he can argue on the basis of scripture. So, but that means it is not blind faith. You see, the reason why what he's doing is basically Uttamadhikari, he is able to communicate with Krishna. He has a lot of realizations, many interactions he had, either in meditation or personally with Krishna. But it is an etiquette not to reveal them, not to speak openly about them. The etiquette is you have to go through scripture. You speak from the scripture. Even if it is your own realization, you have to back it up with scriptural knowledge. So an Uttamadhikari has so much realization, so much experience. And plus he has knowledge of scripture. So with a lot of conviction, with personal experience, he can present the philosophy. He knows it is like that. There is no doubt about the existence of Krishna. It's just like in those days when some people tried to break the Ram bridge in Bharatadesha, some parties, and there was a lot of upheaval because the first part of the bridge which Ramachandra built in Treta Yuga with the help of the monkeys is still there at Dhanushkodi. And it's supposed to be 100 yojanas, means 12,800 kilometers, that bridge was. So if you take an, I call that, a compass, I call that, you do like this, and you put it there at Dhanushkodi and take, like a map, you find it goes all the way up to Brazil, over the ocean, And the biggest constructors, companies in this world have not been able to make a bridge across the sea. But the Ramachandra was able to build this bridge. But then later, when Vibhishana spoke with Ramachandra, if you maintain this bridge, then humans will come to Lanka and they will disturb us. So Ramachandra, with one arrow, broke that first part, that bigger part of the bridge. But still, the beginning part is still there. And at some places, you can walk over the bridge and the water will come to your knees in the middle of the ocean, right? That's how it is built. But some parties try to destroy that by bringing in ships to ram it, to blast, whatever they tried to do. But they failed. They failed doing that. So the point was that faith, a pure devotee has strong faith and is classified as the topmost. Yeah. The point was here, I just got it back now, is that in those days, why there was so much upheaval, there was a serial of Ramayana being cast and filmed. And people were becoming really enthusiastic to worship Ramachandra. And as a counter reaction to that, some people tried to destroy all the evidence of Ram. So it was like, a person has seen just now Ram's darshan, and he's just bowing down to Ramachandra, and he stands up, he looks at the television, and then people say, Ram doesn't exist, he's a mythological person. It was like that, Ram is not a person to be found in the earth by digging as an archaeological proof. Ram is to be seen, to be met with pure devotion. And I'm convinced that many people in Bharatadesha who are Ram devotees must have had his darshan like that. And at the same time, you find that others claiming, no, he's not there. Anyway, those who speak from experience, you feel their conviction, their power is there. They know it is like that. There's no doubt that Ram exists, because I've just seen him. And I look at the television, they say, no, there is no Ram. Like that. So this is the dichotomy in such a society. It can happen like that. So an Uttamadhikari, a person in the topmost level, though he uses a lot of logical and argument, but carefully try to listen between his logic and argument. And you find it is emanating with faith, and that's coming from his experience. He has already lived that. You see, that's an Uttamadhikari. The second one who is not very expert at argument and logic based on the revealed scriptures, but who has firm faith, is considered a second-class devotee. He also must be considered very fortunate. Mahaprabhu says that. You also have devotees in ISKCON who are not very learned. They don't have time. They have to serve a lot. So they couldn't read all the books of Prabhupada and memorize a lot of shlokas, which are actually assets. We can say like jewels, which you can use for preaching. So you're not so rich in scriptural knowledge, but they have had some deep impression of Krishna. These are intermediate. They're only lacking the knowledge to present it because they are not allowed, that's the etiquette, not allowed to reveal their revelations or their experiences with Krishna. So then you find sometimes when they are in a debate, they say, and have you seen Krishna? Then he knows, I have to act as if no, though he has seen Krishna. And then he's defeated. You see? He doesn't know how to counter that argument. An Uttamadhikari would say, you want to see Krishna? Well, it is my personal thing. I want to tell you whether I've seen him or not. But can you see when the light is turned off at night? You cannot even see anything. And still you want to see God, who's beyond all these dimensions? He would argue. But the second intermediate devotee is not able to. Because he has experience, maybe not as much as an Uttamadhikari, but he's also lacking the knowledge. Like that. Because in the knowledge of Prabhupada's books, there are many, many logical arguments given. like that. Then have one whose faith is not very strong, whose faith is soft and pliable, is called the neophyte. But by gradually following the process, he will arise to the platform of a first-class devotee. So the neophyte, he doesn't have any realization, interaction with Krishna. He reads the books to get fascinated, but nothing is really happening in his life. And therefore, whatever is there is only the externals. The color of the temple, the mantras, the rituals. Yeah, he's very absorbed in that and thinks, yeah, now I'm a devotee. But there is no internal consciousness of development. He still can only see external matter. His consciousness has not evolved yet. A Madhyamadikari feels, but he can't argue logically. Uttamadikari and feels and has an argument. Okay? So this is one way of classification. This is from Shraddha to Nishtha. The first basic levels of bhakti are Ado Shraddha, Tato Sadhu Sangha, Ata Bhajana Kriya, Anartha Nivriti, Nishtha. Nishtha means firm faith. Ado Shraddha. In the beginning you have some faith, some knowledge. Then you come to the temple. Tato Sadhu Sangha. You join in the satsangas, associating with the devotees, satsanga. What happens then? You get faith in the process and you take initiation, bhajana kriya. For what? To anartha nivriti. All the bad things in the heart has to be cleansed. And when they are cleansed, then you attain firm, unbreakable faith. And that unbreakable faith is classified here by way of our logic and argument. But now the second part of the process comes. That was purification. Now it comes attachment. It's the second part of a process. You have ruchi, asakti, bhava, and prema. So after you have purified your heart and have attained unbreakable faith, then you can get taste in the holy name, ruchi. It's taste. And that leads to asakti, intense attachment, like being addicted to Krishna, asakti. It turns from the name to the person, asakti, which further on becomes bhava and then becomes prema, ecstasy, and becomes fully manifest as prema in somebody's personality. And therefore Mahaprabhu says, a devotee is considered superlative or superior according to his attachment and love, rati and prema. These words are used. In the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the following symptoms have been given. So this is a conversation in the 11th canto by the Navayogendras, the 9 sons of Rishabdev, who became Brahmins and Rishis. And they visited once Maharaj Nimi, the king in Mithila, from the dynasty of Sita's father, Janaka Maharaj. So when the 9 Yogendras visited him, then Nimi Maharaj asked him a question, can you describe me what are the symptoms of the different grades of devotees? And these verses should be memorized by everyone. Sarva bhuteshu yaha pasyet bhagavad bhavam atmanaha. One who sees the Supreme Lord in everyone's heart, and he has the mood of being able to see him everywhere, he is considered to be an Uttamadhikari. So an Uttamadhikari here is not measured by his amount of knowledge. It is his amount of being it is his absorption in consciousness which forces him to see everything, everywhere Krishna. That is the Uttamadhikari. It is not based on logic and argument anymore. The second part of the process, you see. First part is logic and argument, because there is nothing more than that. You don't have the attachment, so you cannot measure anything. But you have logic and argument, which purifies. So therefore we have, in the first part, we have jnana as purification process. But then the other measurement comes, how much love and affection does one have? Right? So, Ishware tadadhineshu balisesu dvisatchucha prema maitri prakopeksha yah karoti samadhyama. This is the second verse describing a madhyamadikari. Ishware tad adhineshu. He is very humble and meek towards the Supreme Lord. Baliseshu divsatchucha. He sees somebody else as a younger person, less advanced. So he sees him as a child and he's merciful towards them. Dvisatchucha. He also sees somebody who is envious and he neglects them. Prema maitri. He makes loving relationships with those, friendship relationships with those who are equal. Prema maitri, prakopeksha, and he neglects the envious. Yah karoti samadhyama. A madhyamadikari, therefore, acts like this. And in our movement, we're supposed to be Madhyamadikaris and be careful with whom you associate, like this. So then you have to know, okay, I will associate with this person or neglect the other one because he's envious. And those who are less advanced, when they come with questions, you give all affection, you give all instructions and help him in every way you can. This is Madhyamadikari. He sees the duality of this world. Then the third one, Archayam eva haraye. What is it? Archam eva haraye. Pujam shraddhyartaye. Pujam. I should learn the verses myself also. Sometimes they just come out and sometimes they don't come. Archayam eva haraye. What is that? Pujam shraddhayer hate. Na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sahabhakta prakritah smritaha. So one who is very faithfully worshipping the deity, faithfully worshipping the deity and following the instructions of a spiritual master, but is not able to appreciate somebody else's devotion, thinking himself to be the best, he is considered to be a neophyte. Right? So there is some goodness also in him. He has faith in a deity and in spiritual master, but because he cannot appreciate somebody else's devotional heart, he is very bad in associating with others. No, that's a Kanishtadhikari. So in this way, the Naivagendras, they describe the different levels of bhakti from the level of rati, attachment, and prema, love. So what can be attained by associating with devotees then? Because the question can come up here. One has to associate with devotees. The answer to this question is very easy. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati akinchana sarvair gunaistatra samasate suraha harav abhaktasya kuto mahadguna manorathena sati dhavato bahi. Now, this verse appears in the Bhagavatam and also in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. But the translation in the Chaitanya Charitamrita I like more because something is added there in the translation by Prabhupada. I'll read to you. In one who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna, Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavati kinchana, it says here, all good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are constantly manifest. Sarvair gunais tatra samasate sura. It doesn't say Hari in the second line. It said Sarvair gunai, all qualities, there, tatra, samasate, reside in him of the suras, of the devatas. So Prabhupada says here, all the good qualities of Krishna also. Right? So now, does Krishna also have bad qualities that we only take the good ones? Sure.
Krishna is altijd zo vooral bad qualities of people, then nothing exists out of Krishna. So Krishna has everything.
You're a Muni, huh? You're a Muni. A Muni means a person who can speculate unendingly. But it's nice that you are alert. So the last part of the verse goes, however, he who has no devotion to the Supreme Personality of Godhead has no good qualifications because he is engaged by mental concoction. People like to speculate, the nectar of speculation. In a material existence, which is the external feature of the Lord. And sometimes even devotees, they like to speculate. Do little green men with pointed ears live on Mars? You can speculate, their culture, their music, their language. People like to speculate. It's not a planet what you see there. It's a big spaceship with millions of people on it. They just cover themselves in a cloud or as a planet, but it's actually a spaceship. And they make diagrams and maps of how they will travel left and right. It's all speculation. Speculation unlimited, right? So there is no benefit in there because you won't advance. And modern science is basically also like that. Every 20 years they discover how the previous scientists, even Nobel Prize winners, were wrong. And now have just adjusted the numbers, isn't it? And they think we are getting closer to the truth. But it's not necessary to get closer to the truth. I mean, having a flat Earth reality is as useful as having a round, spheric Earth reality, isn't it, or not? In the past, you would say, oh, in the past, when our ancestors, they didn't have a good view. They didn't have airplanes, so they couldn't travel in the sky to see that the earth is a round ball. We can do. We are better. You know? But you find that in ancient knowledge, there are great truth hidden in there. One of them is, for example, astronomy. The American Marine is still using the geocentric viewpoint of the world, that the Earth is in the center and the sun is going around the Earth and the stars. And why do they do that? Because if you don't take that view, you cannot navigate properly on the ocean. You'll be lost, right? So that is one of the applications of ancient science, where people thought that the Earth is in the center and the stars and planets were traveling around. So there is some truth in it because you can apply it. If you can apply it, you can do something with it. There must be some truth in it, isn't it? Right? With angle, the star is, and like that, and then in this way you can apply your boat to the right destiny. Another one is astrology. Is also dealing with the same thing, how the planets are situated and what effect they will have on Earth. And these patterns have been proven to be correct, like that. So now you can say, oh, no, we have better now. The Earth is round and it's traveling around the sun, and that is the reality. But then you ask, what can you do with that understanding? What is the practical application of that? Okay, you can explain the movements of the planets maybe a little bit more, but can you explain also the subtle influence on your body? No, they don't make any link. Like Mars has this influence on you, Jupiter has this influence, but the influence are there. So in other words, the ancients, our ancestors, had an understanding of there is a subtle reality also, character, temperaments, and therefore there must be another dimension in which it manifests as a flat earth reality. And if you don't use that, you only want to have the mechanical reality, and you skip the subtle reality of feelings and of psychology and of how it how it controls our senses, and you have only the mechanical view, then you have the mechanical view, but you can't do anything with it. You can calculate so far as a distance. You can travel mechanically to that planet by wasting a lot of hydrogen gas. But if you can subtly travel with the mind to that planet and see what is there, that is what our ancestors were doing, the ancients. By meditation, you know what is there. Right? So by going inside, you get great powers to see what's in the outer world, if you're interested. Like that. That's how it used to work. So, Krishna, does he also have bad qualities then? So we try to give some answer to this. The definition of Krishna is all attractive. The word God means one who's always good, right? It says here in translation, I didn't put it in the translation, Prabhupada put it. In one who has unflinching devotional faith in Krishna, all the good qualities of Krishna and the demigods are constantly manifest. Now, we know about the demigods that some of the qualities we would not desire so much. Attachment to a big position, sometimes violence to a woman, he was prepared to kill a child. So these qualities are not desired. Does Krishna have any qualities which are not desirable?
You know why? Krishna is all attractive. So when you are a bad man and bad people, even because he is all attractive, so he is also attractive to bad people. But then why? Maybe when because Krishna has also bad qualities, he is attracted to the bad.
Okay, that's a good answer. Yes, there are bad qualities in Krishna in order to attract the bad guys. Is basically what he's saying. Krishna has bad qualities to attract the bad guys. Yeah, I'm saying. So that's what you're saying. So that means because it's Krishna, it's absolute. One sense, if you ask Mayavadis about Krishna, that fellow, would you like to live in an area where somebody lives like that, who runs away with your wife and other people's wives, who goes around stealing? No, these are bad qualities, right? They will say Krishna has bad qualities, right? But the problem with them, their understanding is, they have a stony understanding, a very lumpy understanding, because Krishna is pure consciousness. So when he dances with others' women, it means he's dancing with the consciousness of them. And because he's already in your heart situated as Paramatma, everyone already belongs to him. It is their problem that they think their wife is theirs. You know? That wife was already Krishna's before the creation started even. And it is still Krishna's when the creation is present. And even after the creation, it will still be Krishna's property. It is your illusion, your ego thinking that it is your wife. And then you become envious of Krishna and thinking he has bad qualities. Isn't it? Like that. And he's stealing, because he steals, his name is Chittachor. One who steals the consciousness. If he would be very much lusty after butter, so much butter in your kitchen is there, margarine and stuff in your fridge, why is he not stealing? You know? You sometimes forget about the butter, it's become decomposed even, and still Krishna is not stealing. So why is he not stealing your butter? But he did steal the butter in Braja. Why? Because of the chitta in there, the consciousness in there. It was churned with a lot of love. Meditating, Krishna will come and steal it. So he found duty bound. They're making it for me. And the Leela has to be enacted that I'm going to steal. Therefore he's Chittachor, he steals the mind. He churned the minds while eating the makhan, the butter, like that. So this is the proper understanding. It's from another dimension, of the dimension of Turiya, the fourth dimension. That is what Krishna is doing. But it looks like on the Jagaran is a very bad quality. So that is there. So if we associate with devotees, and association means we try to imbibe the qualities somebody else has. That's association. We can also be in a group, but be very closed, shielding ourselves from any influence from others. That is not association. Right? Like when you go outside on the street, there's so many people, but they don't have any devotional qualities. So though you're moving amongst them, you're not taking their energy, taking their qualities upon you. Right? They don't become entangled. But when you're with devotees, especially with senior devotees, more advanced devotees, then you open yourself fully and try to imbibe that mood, that advancement he had. He had been studying for 13 years to find those answers and get the devotion, and you sit with him and you get it in 2 minutes. Right? Isn't it stealing? Anyway. That's the thing with senior devotees. They have worked for 30 years, 40 years to come to that level. And when they give you that association, you can rapidly advance in your 2 years to that level also, if you can imbibe it. You know, like that. The river is flowing, but it depends on your container, your bucket, how big it is, how much you can take. Right? If it's a small bucket only, then if you have a big bucket or a barrel, then you can so much. Yeah? So a pure devotee, an advanced devotee is neutral. He's flowing like a river. And you just take how much you can. Or if you have only a teaspoon, that much you can get. If you have a big barrel, a gallon of 10,000 liters, then so much you can get. You know? So it also depends on your capacity. And that's why when you read Prabhupada's books again and again, you're associating with him, each time you read, you get newer understandings. It is not that it was not there in the books. It is now because your consciousness has opened certain doors which were closed before. And when you read, oh, it is there. How could I not see that in a previous time when I read it? Because your doors were locked at that time, you see. So by associating with devotees, doors get opened. They show you, look, that verse also says something like this. Oh yeah, really, I never knew that, you know. That's the benefit you get by associating with devotees, newer and newer insights and in-depth knowledge. So I'll end with the last point which I have to make here. Titikshava karunika surida sarva bhut sarvadehinam ajata shatravaha shanta sadva sadhu bhushana. Devotees are always tolerant, forbearing and very merciful. They are well-wishers of every living entity. They follow the scriptural injunctions. And because they have no enemies, they are very powerful. These are the decorations of devotees. When you associate with devotees, you get jewels of good behavior. You imbibe it like that, which are tolerance, forbearing, merciful, well-wisher of all living entities, and following scriptural injunctions. So one can therefore measure somebody's advancement by looking at his character, at his behavior. Are his behavior like jewels? You know, he's very advanced. And therefore also, One who's very rich has a lot to hide, isn't it? One who's very rich has a lot to hide, isn't it? Because there are thieves everywhere. So then you have to put a big safe with a big lock and hide all your wealth in there. Because you have a lot to lose. Therefore, you're very careful. So you find that those who are very advanced, they're very careful in how they behave, what they say, that their wealth might not be lost, They're safe with all their good qualities might not be lost. So one can also get from an Uttamadhikari how one has to surrender to Krishna. And for that we may take another lesson, how to surrender. I'll end here. And are there any questions or comments? No questions, no comments. Garantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gauru Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.